Abu Chebe stream. Chebe live.
Okay, so it's 2:20, so let's look to get started for the evening sessions. We're going to try as best as possible to catch up. As I mentioned, this evening we have a few sector-specific presentations. And we have our panel discussion that was supposed to happen yesterday, which is health and education. And we have the Outer Island discussion to happen this afternoon after the break. Started with one of the
Thank you very much, MC. Our presentation is in collaboration with NDOE, College of Micronesia, FSM. Tuwo, Radanim, Mogadin, O Kasilelia, Maigo. First of all, I would like to thank our Heavenly Father. My respect to the traditional chief, Isonatkin, in Medelanim, and all traditional chiefs throughout the FSM. Vice President Malik, who is not here yet, my respect to him. FSM Speaker Espen Moses, Vice Speaker Romolo, Governor and Speaker of this great state of Kosrae, FSM and state leaders and other dignitaries that are present today in this afternoon. My respect to each and every one of us participants. NDOE with Rachel Solomon and the college professor Gardner Edgar and Director many challenges facing the nation in regards to the skilled workers shortages that have been impacting the construction industry in the nation, and wish to present an option that we believe can have a positive impact in addressing this dilemma. The FSM Congress passed congressional resolution in its past sessions of Congress, requested that COM FSM take the lead in strengthening skilled workers in the FSM to take on construction development of the FSM nations, infrastructure projects, to continue to grow the GDP of the FSM. My colleagues will be presenting on great success for the FSM nation, or workforce capable to carry out the project's implementation for the states in the Federated States of Micronesia. Over the past, skilled workers, primarily from the Philippines, which is now being suspended for unknown duration. The COVID-19 has also awakened the nation that is not only termination of bilateral agreements and cooperation between countries can affect our human resources, but also worldwide, like the COVID-19 pandemic. These matters contributed to the delay in implementation of projects under the Compact 2 Infrastructure Development Program, and which contributed to the 100,000 than what we have been doing in terms of human capacity building. Such realization and actions are evident in the college efforts that resulted in the construction of the teaching clinic at the national campus in Palikir. I know some of you were there last week. You saw the construction by the road. That's the teaching clinic that is funded through the pandemic, intended to increase efforts in addressing shortage of healthcare personnel, trained the current nursing program, dentists and doctors for tomorrow, doctors or trained to become doctors in the future and come back and help FSM. A total of 3 project construction are currently ongoing now in Pohnpei for the college nursing, college using the arrears of fund under the Compact of Free Association and also the COVID-19 pandemic. Leaders of this great nation, the college continues to plead to the leadership of the states and the nation to support our proposal to make amendments to the Public Law 1857 in regards to the division formula, which was passed in the FSM Congress third special session in 2014 that gave the FSM national 5% share to the states. We need that 5% share. College facility nation. For the Kosrae, we an IMF fund which is allocated for this year. Consequently, COM-FSM is in collaboration with the NDOE and will be presenting to you the proposal for the implementation of the SEEP. SEEP, of course, is up here, stands for Skill Enhancement Employability Project. This was referred to as the PATS. Industry, and also to complement the ongoing plans for the 4 states project construction, which they can be laborers as well as trainees in these various projects that you have in your respective states. I will yield the floor now to the state in this great federation. Thank you.
To our Heavenly Father for the gift of life and all the blessing that He has bestowed upon each one of us here today. Kay Winabang Kuran Isogo, my humble respect to Vice President, Speaker, and all of the honorable and distinguished leaders, participants in the room. COM-FSM mission statement. The College of Micronesia is a learner-centered institution of higher education that is committed to the success of the federal state of Micronesia by providing academic and career and technical educational programs characterized. At COM, we recite our mission statement. Today, I recite our mission statement to remind us the mandate by our FSM. Collaboration of the National Department of Education and COM on the Skills Enhancement and Employability Project. The U.S. Department of Labor registered apprenticeship training, and COM-FSM proposed apprenticeship training to accommodate the need of skilled workers that we are facing with our current infrastructure projects. FSM to the high schools and the COM-FSM to the workforce. The first is known as School to Work or Pre-Apprenticeship. It provides several things. One, it improves the collaboration between high school and COM-FSM professional programs. 2, course and program alignment between high school programs to COM-FSM. 3, program is the collaborative project between NDOE, COM-FSM to strengthen the School to Work initiative. The C project is more comprehensive project, including providing vocational training to dropouts. The apprenticeship project, which is the mechanism that COM-FSM training programs to the FSM local workforce. 2, it improves collaboration and partnership of training institutions, employers, and government, and trainees. The collaboration with NDOE on skills enhancement and employability project, COM, FSM robotics, electronics technology, and telecommunication. The C will also prepare high school students to smoothly transition into the FSA and apprenticeship. Target groups, high school graduates, and dropouts. Career pathways. I think it's important to show this before we talked about apprenticeship. As you know, pathway number one, that's the traditional way. You go to college, after completing college, you seek employment, and then your career. Pathway number two, that's what we call the apprenticeship. The apprenticeship training model combines on-the-job training and related training instruction, classroom training. OJT, which stands for on-the-job training portion, provided by the employers, and RTI, which is the related training instruction, classroom training portion, provided by the training institute. Both portions must be offered or conducted simultaneously, work and school together. This is a proven working model to be implemented in the collaborations or implemented in the infrastructure or construction area that would allow collaborations between funding sources, education, and employers, skills, manpower development. It's a win-win solution for all entities. The core of the registered apprenticeship program through the U.S. Department of Labor. First, employer involvement. Apprentice must be employed by an employer. Structure on the job training. Apprentice and their mentor, the skills craftsmen, they follow a work process which outlines the specific task that the apprentice must successfully complete. Related instruction, this is the theoretical part of the training or the classroom training portion. RTI must meet the requirements of the training program certified by the state or the national DOE. Minimum of 144 hours. Rewards for skill gain. Apprentices receive an increase in pay as their skills and knowledge increase. Employer starts by establishing an entry wage and an ending wage and building progressive wage increases throughout the apprenticeship as skills benchmark are met by the apprentice. Finally, upon completing the program, the employer will become a sponsor employer registered in the U.S. Department of Labor Apprenticeship Program. And also upon successful completion of the training program, the classroom training requirements, and also on the job training, a certificate of completion will be given to the apprentice. So you can see these are samples of the register for certificate registration for the employer sponsor, and then the journeyman certification for the apprentice. What we're proposing, the apprenticeship training proposal. This proposal will address the need of skilled workforce that we are currently facing today in all the FSM states. Focus now is in the construction area. Other occupations will be added later. Depend on the occupation, some takes 3 years, and most of it is 4 years to complete. Given the trends, we might entertain, say, 2 years, we enroll 60 apprentices. In 5 years, around 90 apprentices. Training in the construction area. Trades, we're looking at carpentry, plumbing, construction and electricity, masonry, general welding, and support courses. All of these courses, for information, there are 2 parts for the apprenticeship. First part is the on-the-job training. So on-the-job training, there is a work process. For every occupation, there is a work process, which basically outlines the work and the task that the apprentice requires to complete with the number of years. So here's an example. Work occupation, building maintenance and repair. So the math calculation here, it says 2,000 hours is equivalent to 1 year of work. So 6,000 hours is equivalent to 3 years of full-time work. The second part of the apprenticeship is the RTI, related training instruction, or the classroom training portion, all able to be used as RTI. So here's an example for the building maintenance. So first year, you can see the listing of courses that they'll be going through. Second year, third year, and so forth. A total of 34.5 credits. However, the courses can be offered as best meet the apprenticeship program. So it can be offered during the summer, it can be offered during the weekends, or in the evenings. Outcomes and benefit, maximize now. We're collaborating with the National Department of Education. When we collaborate, each of us know what's our distinct goals. Increase the number of skilled workers with journeyman certification from the U.S. Department of Labor. We can also attract and promote training programs in the construction or occupation area from the high school leading up to the college. Upon successful completion, apprentices will be awarded with 2 certificates. One, a certificate of completion from FSM in their field of study, and a U.S. journeyman from the U.S. Department of Labor. Successful stories. As you know, there's a lot of people that were involved in the apprenticeship training. This was in the trust territory. So most of those people right now, individuals, they have completed the apprenticeship training program and are currently employed in the leadership position or essential skills position at their respective job sites. Before transitioning to leader position, they were apprentices in their respective occupation and worked and performed for years in providing skilled services in their respective occupations. They were role models for many who has the same passion and interest and wanted to follow this training path. At this time, I would like to turn the floor to our Director of Maintenance, Somaka, to conclude our presentation with a closing remark.
Thank you, Professor Gardner. If I may just once again pay my respects to ISO and speaker and everyone else here. You know, just a while ago, the speaker reminded me of where COM was, or the beginning of COM until now. It's some kind of a response to Vice President's question about what COM has been doing or will be doing. If you recall, in the past, during the Trust Territory time, it was MTEC, Micronesian Teacher Education Center. That was the focus of Micronesia or the Trust Territory at that time, was to train teachers. We've come a long way, and I think today, if you go around in the classrooms, you will find a lot of teachers that are graduates of either MTEC. My boss was one of those that graduated from the MTEC, and CCM, Community College of Micronesia. And a lot more that have graduated. I'm sure many of you in the offices, including the instruction, IT personnel in the offices, you walk in, there are COM graduates. You know, so what have COM done in the past until now? There's many, but those mostly are in the white-collar workers, we call them. White-collar workers, people in the offices that we have worked on, and that I believe were then the needs of the nation. That has evolved to now changing into a different era where our focus and needs are now in the blue-collar workers, in the industry of construction especially. We have, as stated earlier by our Vice President, we have relied highly on the importing for skilled workers from the Philippines and other places. But now that has temporarily suspended. We don't know when it's gonna come back. The COVID-19 has also taught us a lesson to start developing our own. It's a new opportunity for us. Skilled programs are very very expensive to operate these kind of institutions. For instance, as Professor said, you have to be doing it on the job. You learn on the job training. On the job, you will learn, the students will learn for at least a minimum of 4,000 hours before they are ready skilled workers, including our new administration, to move forward. So we seek your assistance, especially in helping us cooperate in funding this program, because we believe this is the way forward in developing our skilled workforce. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, CEO. So this presentation, COM, is targeted in relation to infrastructure as a problem that we've seen in the PMU, where we're trying to roll out very large programs, but the skill set just isn't there. There are some, but there's definitely a need for more. And I mean, when we show you one of the presentations tomorrow, where you will see the full breadth of the program being implemented by PMU, it's 594 million over the next few years. So with a program like that, there definitely is need for that skilled labor, that skilled labor set. And we do note the SEED project and the apprenticeship program that you all have going on. But I am sure, it's with the needs for skilled workers on the ground. How has COM been fulfilling? I mean, I could talk from the PMU standpoint. There are three buildings we're doing for COM right now, which is the Technical Vocational Center, the Teaching Clinic, which is for nurses and so on, and then the Student Center. So we know that side of the conversation. We saw the master plan that you all would have done as well, a comprehensive master plan. So the floor is now open for any questions specifically to FSM workforce and being able to deal with the demands, the upcoming demands of the infrastructure program. Any questions?
Thank you very much, and thank you very much, COM session, where we are discussing the capacity constraints to infrastructure development program over the next 20 years. And I think that certainly on our side, we can see a huge increase in the demand for technical workers. And I know very often when we talk about capacity, we tend maybe too much to think about engineers and architects and surveyors and quantity surveyors and those people. But we forget that supplying, meeting the supply, and those who, the demand people, those who, like the contractors, for example, maybe there's need to be more kind of, coming together of those two sides to see how, you can work together. In some of the discussions we have had with the World Bank, for example, we raised the issue whether on our World Bank road or something like that, services, being able to train, designated number of female skilled workers. But certainly that principle has been accepted also. And I just feel that maybe, given what we're talking about, I mean, we're talking about this morning, for example, a huge increase in the amount of maintenance work. I mean, all these people here, the electricians, the plumbers, and so on. I mean, they're the ones who will be needed, to do this maintenance work. And I'm just wondering, COM, whether there's any place for us meaning, national government and DTCI, in terms of providing a forum for you to establish some closer working relationships, let's say with the contractors, to see how we can start from now, as we speak, building or providing opportunities for this kind of practical training that, as you say, would be essential to enable them to get certified. And once we do that, of course, once they start, working with contractors and so on, some of them may build relationships with those same contractors, as we know, and stay on even after they get their certification, and stay on rather than going to Saipan or to Guam. So I think that we need to know how we can help because we're seeing the tremendous need. Let's not escape from that. As you mentioned, the ban on the Filipino workers that was placed by their own government, that is a problem, and that we have to go overcome. But at the same time, we have all these schools that need to be repaired. We have all these health centers and so on. We have the roads, etc. So that huge demand, which has been pent up for a long time, and we can see that demand is really shooting through the roof, maybe by next year or so. So let's see how we can work together, and I would be interested to hear from you to tell us how we can help in terms of DTCI and the state project management offices to help you to achieve where you're trying to get in terms of producing a bigger cadre of skilled workers to help with the infrastructure development. Thank you.
Yes, definitely, Robert. We will definitely need the help of the PMU and PMO offices, especially in collaborating in the training where students will be coming in working with the contractors. I think the collaboration between the contractors, if there is conditions under the contract where it says for every government contract you need to hire the COM trainees, apprentices to work in those projects so that they can train. Initially, we're thinking that maybe we can, if we can recruit up to 30 students and start their class by summer 2024, by the fall of 2024, we should be able to discharge these students to the contractors to work alongside by fall. So for 2 semesters, they will be working with the contractors. And during the summer, they will be in intense classroom work. That we will be needing the assistance of the PMU office, and maybe there may be needs for policies that will be.
Is there a timeline on these supposed candidates for the programs, especially and I know that I'm interested to see what the size is that's going to be being offloaded into the workforce if they want to. And it's going to be a challenge because the way we have negotiated our compact allows for immigration and opportunities elsewhere. And I'm wondering if you have a projected idea of.
And if we're proceeding good, we can recruit another 30 within another 2 years. So for every believe that maybe by the 3rd year, let's see if they all stay in. With regards to them leaving, there will be contracts between the students to stay on to work within the nation for the period of time that they're being sponsored to or under the training program.
If I may add to that, my respect to Vice President Tarek and all the traditional chiefs here in this conference. Yes, we have 2 parts of this SEED program. One of them is to establish paths or those facilities at paths then we'll have several programs that will be ongoing there at PATS in the area of auto mechanics and telecommunications. I think we listed them earlier when we made the presentation. And then the other part of it is the apprenticeship program, which will complement all of the projects that are ongoing in the various states. Construction, especially in complementing or helping to not only support construction in terms of labor, but also to train them in several skill areas, namely how to use hand tools, how to measure, how to estimate, how to all kinds of areas of skills in construction, masonries, and all all on-the-job type of training that they need to go through. So it's actually helping with the construction of facilities. At the same time, they will be certified because they will earn hours while they're doing that for the Federated States of Micronesia project in all the different 4 states, including COM and FSM projects. There are 3 of them that we have currently ongoing now. So yes, we're excited about this. The funding is already available from World Bank. We will be utilizing that money. That will help us to move this project forward with speed. Thank you.
Thank you, Shankar. I think this is actually a very good way to get our people to become skilled workers so that they can actually replace some of the ones that we've been bringing in from overseas. But I think the issue is going to be on how do we ensure that these people, when they finish these programs, get to stay and work within the FSM. Because we have laws, we don't have any laws on minimum wage, especially with the private sector, and minimum wage is very, very low. And so these guys with skills will probably head off in the US or somewhere where they can get better wages. So how do we ensure that we keep these people within the FSM?
Thank you. That's, I think, where we all have to work together and find that solution, because it is a good question. Because I'm sure when they're skilled, the bottom line is salary. After they complete their contract, if somebody offers them the contract out there, they're going to earn more, they might go. And I don't think we have much control over that. But it's whatever incentive we have, I think that's what's going to keep them here. The other good thing about this program is that they will be working with the contractors already. So employment will be, we have a positive chance of them being employed by the employers themselves. If they want to keep those people, I think they're going to raise their salary $5 an hour or $6. They'll stay.
Thank you. Excuse me, and my respect to the Vice President, Mr. Hanikin, and the rest. I think Chair Lady Mofi have already said the same questions that I have, and we have experiencing these outflux of our skilled citizens. Education in Chuk, I believe we have our citizens who have, they don't want to come back. They want to work where they can earn maybe double what they would make if they're staying. So I understand the scholarships that were offered. I believe it's the ALSAID or the other scholarship where there is a mechanism in there that they have to come back and work for at least 2 years. So I believe that the mechanism within that contract would also help to at least contributing to our development through their skilled experience. Thank you.
The other benefit of this program is you immediately provide the helpers to the contractors. The labor shortage right now is the sun. So we hope we don't, drop the, right now the academics is here and vocational enrollment or graduate is here. And that thing might shift. And we anticipate that by doing the program. We anticipate that there will be a shift. If students know that they will be working and getting $3 an hour while under training, they might think again whether they're going to take liberal arts or construction. But we need to do something to entice them to shift that and seriously.
Thank you very much, Vice President, Professor, and Mr. Mantiola for your good presentation. The question I have is whether there is arrangement for that the college thought about for, like, you have campuses all over this FSM, whether students can take the theory part at the state campuses and do the practical at the C site at BATS. But I'm also thinking that you're saying that while they're doing their courses, they will already be participating in the contractual works that are available. I'm just assuming that that is going to be in Pohnpei. If there are contracts that are in other states, whether the college would work out, system that they can take courses in each of the states while they're working with contracts at the state level. So I'm just asking if there are any consideration for that kind of setup.
Initially, we want, for example, if there is concrete pouring that the students have to do in Chuk, maybe they will fly there and be in that project for some time. If there is road construction that we have students that will be in the road construction area, we put them on that in that area. So we would preferably, for the first batch, would like to have, be at the Pohnpei campus or the national campus so we can have good control and study how students are behaving and what are the challenges that we will be facing and immediately address that. But by the second, third batch, we may be able to have students also already staying at their respective states and not having to come to the national campus. That cuts the housing costs because, Xion, we must charge the housing costs and all of that. So it has to be within the budget of this new endeavor that we're going to do.
Yeah, my respect to you, Vice President Balik, Speaker Moses, his son and grand. It's not really about infrastructure, but I want to bring in gender because when we talk about training, I look at it like it's more one-sided. We're talking about men. But I want to, kind of look at the other side, how we can help them with the employment opportunity. And my point here is on the Pohnpeian skirt. When our woman put on that very nice skirt, the sun really shines. So how can we, or the college, help the female, especially those in Pohnpei? They're young, they drop out, but we give them that chance to learn how to make Pohnpeian skirts. I know that there are many Pohnpeian female that they're good in making skirts and they're earning money. So how can we help those that they drop out from high school or so that they can also learn the skill and then earn money? Thank you.
Faustini, you got me there. I was thinking whether I thought you were implying whether they're gonna wear a skirt and climb up. And my answer would be, don't worry, because they know how to use tights nowadays. Anyways, at this time, there are programs that we're trying to put together that will attract the female, especially in terms of construction surveying and drafting, where like they would be helping PTA. In that kind of road construction, you would be needing. We have female surveyors in Thornby. We have one registered surveyor in Thornby, and there is discussion that with her to be the lead in doing the training for surveying and AutoCAD operator, so that they can do the mapping for roads. And in addition, for dropouts, like my boss said, PATS or the FSA, that's where I think most of the students that are not are dropping out will go into. This area will include like small engine mechanics and body and fender. The females, they're electronics, automotive electronics nowadays. The trend is moving toward what was that, Faustino? Electric vehicle. Okay, those are the technologies that we need to start, envisioning coming to our country. So we need to start training our people, especially those are the areas where I think female will be most fitted for. And dropouts, yes, they will go into those kind of skills. Including, yes, in the apprenticeship, there is pre-apprenticeship high school where we can prepare them to come into to the program. Yeah, with the SEED program, Rachel, yeah, we're working with Rachel on this dropout and gender issues. But gender is really something important, because first of all, if we're issuing U.S. Department of Labor certificates, there's a requirement of for every 10 apprentices, there has to be one female in the program. So there are conditions under these kind of programs. Gender, a very good example, CTEC, we improved their HTM. Mostly we were thinking there would be male, there were no male, all female cooking. So there's a society thing that we need to be sensitive to. We cannot continue to push people into those kind, saying that, you need to have five male cooking and 5 female, the ratio. It's kind of difficult in our ideas, because, men usually like to be cook. And so you can see in the classrooms, it's evidence there.
Thank you. Let me just add to that. Thank you, Assistant Secretary, for your question. If I may add, college is already doing a lot of these traditional skills in terms of boot camp. Started in June. We're going to go to YAP. We will start that in September of this year. With regards to boot camp, weaving, canoe, we introduced the sailing canoe and carving canoe. That's a plan, but we need to organize those in this coming year. We're also doing boot camp starting this summer, or this in the fall, or beginning this summer, and then going on into the fall, with regards to traditional skills, like weaving of baskets, weaving of mat, and all other that. She really wanted us to incorporate traditional skills in how the college is offering its program to all the citizens in the Federated States of Micronesia. So she's going around in all the states. She was in Chu. She stayed at the Chu campus and worked there for a while. Now she's supposed to come back to Kosrae and stay here for a while. Then in September, she's going to go stay in YAP for a while, just to initiate some of these thinking like us because he's a Pacific Islander. So I'm very proud that we have a good president, and we'll continue to work with her to advance some of these plans that she had. Thank you.
Thank you. Maway tuan sa katawaw, ang conventional di matraining, my respects to the Vice President, Speaker, and everyone else here. My respects from all of you. I noticed this conversation is mostly about the students. We're talking about at the earliest, maybe 13, 14 years old to late, early 20s. And it's great. What I was thinking is these are midterm, not really long term, but these are things we're looking to the future. But if we want immediate, I believe that if we want immediate changes within the workforce in the FSM, we really need to consider those people that are already working, either with the government, private sectors, and national and state, because there are many programs out there that I could potentially, for example, the seafarers. We have programs with the academies. We have other programs that we can send them to. But right now, I don't have the authority to send one of my young seafarers to, let's say, the Coast Guard Academy while they're working for the national government. Because as soon as they leave, they only have a certain amount of leave days, and then their pay will stop. But if we look at those people that are already in the workforce to improve or train them to be better at what they do, because what I noticed after coming back from being in the Coast Guard for 20 years is there's a lot of people that are already on the job, but they don't necessarily have all the skills they need to do their job properly as they are doing now. So for fast reaction and, to get results quicker, I think we should look at the people that are already in the workforce, because it eliminates a lot of those issues that came up earlier, like people leaving and not coming back. Because most of for example, like the seafarers and people that work for the governments, they're under contract. So they would have to follow their contract every year they would have to renew their contracts. So they're binded by that contract until we let them go. So I just want to put it out there, maybe that's another option we can look into in the near future that we can utilize to improve the workforce in the FSM. Thank you.
Thank you. I will try to answer it. I think it's good to explain the apprenticeship program. The apprenticeship program that we're introducing here, it's what we call a sponsor apprenticeship program. And sponsor meaning the money will be provided. There's already, everything's been said. We also have what we call an internal apprenticeship program. We're currently helping with PUC. PUC, what the internal apprenticeship program, they utilize their existing employees, technician. And then we choose what they want, and we actually assist them to build their own standards. And then we actually have them register and then choose whatever occupation they want. So right now at PUC, we have 11. What we have to do is work with the company and see where we can get funding for it. So one of the schemes that I've been using, I usually tell them to come and we establish the standards, then I would have them register as regular students at the campus at Sion. So usually in the evening, they come take night classes, and then they have the work process in which they have their mentors at their job sites or their employer, and then they fill those out. So I believe that could be something with what you are mentioning. There are over thousands of occupation that we can use with the U.S. Department of Labor occupation list. So I'm sure that's another program that we can also utilize that. But we came here to really focus on the Sponsor Bridge program. You can give us a call and we can set up something like that with your employer. Kalaban. Yes.
Is that one thing with DTCI, we have similar programs?
Yes. For your information, right now we have YAP also. I just assisted them, 4 linesmen just completed their U.S. Journeyman linesman. And then we also have telecom, we have COM, and we also have Pohnpei State Public Safety. So we can always assist with wherever the employer are, and then have you become registered sponsor. And then you can also start filling your apprentices.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin and everyone. Good afternoon. I want to take this opportunity to thank the college and the NDOE in moving forward with the SEEP program. I want to thank Congress also for approving that funding resolution. It's about 18 million. I think we're going to have some challenges in terms of implementation to see immediate results. Joe indicated a large component of that funding is to rehabilitate the old patch structure. That's going to take some time to establish the structure. But I recall improve their vocational education programs at the high school level. I recall that I think the senators would also agree. But let me share with you that there were a lot of concerns by members of Congress to see exactly how this program is going to be laid out. But I want to thank the college and NDOE for taking the lead. But I know the results could be quite some time back away. The point raised with respect to minimum wage, the salary, because that's one of the reasons either we cannot keep our people here, they leave island for better employment, nor our ability to return, or your administration and national government is looking into this. Joe, I remember when President and I met with the college, we suggested the concept that we know works very effectively with respect to public-private partnership. And that relates to the effective program in Palau, where vocational graduates, if you graduate from any of these skill areas of the PCC, the agreement between the government and the businesses is that the private sector will pick them up right away and at a much better salary. We're not talking about minimum wage, maybe $6, $7 an hour, which is by our standard, that's pretty good. Then the arrangement is that the private sector will hire these people after graduation. Good job, gainful employment right away. The other side, then the government would then give the businesses a tax credit on their GRT file. Our tax structure again, that's one of the key priority initiatives we have now. That we have a task force to review once again our tax structure. There are areas, components in our tax system that we could direct towards recognizing and give a special bracket to private sector who would hire our students out of graduation. So it's a real tough area when we talk about salary, but we all know that if we provide good employment with high salary, that's going to attract some people. It's one of the main reasons that our folks, our children leaves the country. But I just want to share that this SIP program is very important. It's an $18 million World Bank funding. We need to maximize the benefit of that program. Again, I would ask, especially for folks from the college, we share that with the president, to please look into it. As we're trying to reform or review our tax structure, that's very timely because we could then establish either a special tax bracket for those.
I truly believe that this concept will work under the collaboration of both DOE and us. And then, of course, rehabilitation of paths in which BMU and what's the other department? The R&D will also assist in helping renovate at least up to 5 of the buildings and paths soon. So we will be able to, initiate or start a program right there. High school dropout and high school graduates will be the ones that will enroll in that project. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think no more questions. Okay, so let's thank COM for their presentation. That was due at 3. So, but we do, one specific technical conversation we do have to have is about the materials lab. So let's have that conversation after the break, but let's do a short break of 5 minutes. So we'll get back together after 5 minutes, and then we'll do the presentation on the lab and then the panel discussions after. Okay, so see you all back in 5 minutes.
Vocês estão me... Vocês estão smart. Ang bability ka. Isso. Ano, est-ce large movie ang accept that to Orang gitu? Wala no brother-in-law no CCI. Really. Kasi lang CCI. Iyo really. Partner. Really pagkap sa Japan. Karili yan, karili. Ngayon pa. Kuperlia. Brother-in-law. Ang karili. Ang sarap yun.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are all being invited to a dinner this evening at the Tree Lodge Resort. The dinner is being hosted by the Honorable Speaker of Congress. The dinner will begin at 6:30. For those of you who want to be there early, there will also be some refreshments at 5. Sagaw. Thank you.
Stand up and stretch.
This one's going to do something for him. You guys made the list? I mean,
Yeah, so the list is good.
not the list, the SharePoint?
I think so. You were playing with it, and then we kind of got, we kind of went, oh, is it us? Are we
No, live.
streaming it?
Streaming.
Oh, that's pretty good, isn't it?
Just need a real camera. 'Cause
Yeah.
right now we're using a phone.
Whose phone?
My phone. I'm bored right now. That's why I'm using this. Helping out Kenneth. Where's Kenneth?
Oh, that's pretty good.
Streaming from.
So that's good. Let's stream.
Streaming from this program. Yeah. What OPS Studio?
Oh, yeah, I've used that. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, Oh yeah, he added that. And the FSM still right next to it.
Yeah.
Advertisement.
Okay, everyone, we are about to start the afternoon session. If I could just have everyone just come back to their seats. So we're going to start the discussion this evening on the materials laboratory. Trevor DeLandro, our road expert, is going to carry us through the conversation of the materials laboratory and the implications of it for FSM and road construction and other construction in FSM. So I'll hand you over to Mr. DeLandro to take us through the materials lab.
Good afternoon, everyone. Regards to Vice President and all state FSM and state governments and officials and traditional leaders, all protocol observed. Before, so you will understand my bias towards this part of civil engineering. I graduated in 1979, and in 1981 I went and worked with National Secondary Roads Development Company Limited. Our Minister of Works at that time, Hugh Francis, went to Germany, saw the Autobahn, and told the German government he wants that in Trinidad. That time we were flowing in oil money. So they formed a National Secondary Road Development Company and employed 40 German experts. Right? So they came to Trinidad, set up a company, and plant concrete plant, 4 quarries, full operations. They bought 100 trucks, brand new, $100,000 for one. And in 1 week, 4 destroyed because they're picking up workers. There was no workers. So you start a big company with $500 million and you went off the street and pick up a driver. Within the first month, 4 trucks right off. So that is the basis of roads and so on. So I just want to give you a little history so you can understand what I'm talking about. I learned my master's degree, the MSc thesis was a study of engineering properties of construction materials used in secondary roads in Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm a roadsman for the last 44 years. That is my pet subject. And I had a discussion with Jeffrey. I told him I'm going to call his name. In the office, and Jeffrey, we were talking about slum test. And if the slum test fail, what you're going to do with the truckload of concrete. I said, take it and dump it. He was shocked. But you could add gravel and add this. Take it and dump it. The reason for saying that simple, in money terms, you are paying $10 for something. And based on Jeffrey and add the mixer, you're getting $2 worth. That is what material testing is about. You're paying for something and you're not getting value for your money. So that is the reason for having a laboratory, to ensure that you're paying $10 and you are getting $10 worth. Any other way, you're buying what we say in Trinidad, you're buying cat and bag.
So that is the purpose of a laboratory, to ensure that you are getting what you are paying for. That is laboratory testing, full stop. You are securing your investment. That is what it's about. Simple. Another issue, I had some guys working with me, and he made the comment, doctors bury their mistake. Doctors bury their mistake. Engineers demolish it. So you make a mistake, just get a Japan man and break it up. Simple. But if you go by a doctor and he gives you the wrong injection, you're dead. So that is different between engineering and medicine. So that is the purpose of a lab. To protect you from having to demolish. Because demolition is expense. That is why Caterpillar and them invest millions of dollars in demolition equipment. There's a market for that. That's that. Right? So, laboratory is to test the various construction materials using state-of-the-art equipment. And you are checking the materials for quality, safety, FSC ability to produce a desired result. What that means, if you are looking for 10, you cannot use material that value 2. You will never get 10. Endurance, it can withstand, and physical properties of the material. We normally use ASTM standards, and it has, in the ASTM specification, the test method, everything is written out in the documentation, everything. Terminology, how you use, how you go about it. It's all there. So you're not reinventing anything, it's all in the documentation. Right. Laboratory work is field testing and laboratory testing. Now, what is this? This is a nuclear moisture density gauge. This gives you out in the field whether your soil is compacted to the 95 and 98%. Same thing when you pave with the asphalt. You put it the gauge and it tells you whether it meets the 95 or the ruler man has to make 4 more passes on the asphalt to get the required compaction. So that is a density gauge, gives you results one time out in the field. So every state, so this is a typical slum cone test set, and that is the result of this slum cone. Now if you test and this collapses totally, go leave the side piece, throw that away. That doesn't, right? So this thing and it falls down, collapses. Normally it is with 2 to 4 inches. That's pass. But if this end up here, this point end up here, that material is to be dumped. Right, now we have laboratory testing. That is in the building. Go ahead. We're just showing CBR and Proctor. This test is what you use. Go back. The results from that test is what you use. Go back. Go back. To punch in into this machine to determine compaction out in the. So it's all linked. Go forward. This, hold on, go on. That's the CBR that will determine the hardness of the material to be used especially in a granular piece. Right? Now we have other tests, the aggregate tests, flakiness and elongation, bulk density. This is all tests that you're doing in the lab. Now, this is critical for asphalt because this test mirrors traffic. So if you have the wrong aggregate, after 2 years, you don't have an asphalt pavement because the aggregate in your asphalt disappears because it's too soft. So this is critical for asphalt paving. Right. Right. This is the machine. What it does, you put the 1-inch aggregate and you put in some steel balls and it rotates 50 times. And then you take it out
to see how much it breaks down, make powder. So there's a limit of 50%. But if it fails and you use it in the asphalt, it's going to deteriorate after 2-3 years. And you don't have a pavement. So you have to come and resheet or mill and this is the normal zebra that you do your gradation for your aggregates. This is your asphalt test, you do your flow. To get the lab operational, the state roads PIU and DTCI and I have to sit down and work out the logistics, because what you have 4 separate. You must have this pump to do the compression, the machine, the density gauge, that is to do field testing. And then we have to decide how we use it to use the laboratory. So like Bonape will service so because of the 1 hour. But the gap with that distance, we have to operate differently. Now, this is what my good friend Toss making noise about the 1-to-1. That's a test, cylinders. So everybody has to get one of this. Because when you make a cylinder, you cannot send it here and ever test it. 720. So every state have to get one. Right. Right? And this is sustainability of the lab. I equate the lab to a lab in the hospital. Oh, you want to know if you have COVID, go and you do a lab test. I am buying concrete from some man 3,000 PSI. I want to know I'm getting my 3,000 PSI. Right? So a materials lab and a blood lab in the hospital is the same function. One is concrete, steel, pure mud, and one is blood. But the function is the same. Huh? Right. Now, this materials laboratory, you have everything. You sit down, it has product number, what it is, and you order. And these people have, if you order, you get 1.5% discount and so it's all shoppers. It's all there. So there's no mystery. You have to get a consultant. No, you can choose what you want. It's all laid out there. That's just a sample. Straightforward. And it's standardized. Everything in the EN specs. Where you get in it. See, this is the different codes, standards. The European. So we will do ASTM. Straightforward. That's it. All right. Any questions?
So, I mean, let me get the ball rolling.
Right. Budget, right? $1 million. Ah, boy. The issue, because of the physical logistics of FSM, 2,000 miles away. That's why I'm saying the states, DTCI and I and the roads have to sit down and work out the operation. You cannot have one centralized. You cannot work. Right? Physically cannot work. So we have a resource, we have to sit down and work out the logistics. Right. That's what I'm saying.
But who paying for it?
Huh?
Who paying for it?
When I say paying,
who paying for the equipment? Is it the states?
No. Who? The project.
Correct.
You have about $1 million.
Correct. You want to make that clear.
You are setting up. Now, let me clarify. The $1 million resources, we have to start with that. It cannot work as centralized because of the logistics. It cannot work as in Trinidad. The distance, the logistics. Right? So that everybody has to be involved. We have $1 million because what happened with us, as I said, Trinidad was awash with money. I worked in the lab with the Germans. I worked in. When we moved up to Waterfield. You were down in Waterfield, in Moxica, by Teachers College. And if you see the amount of equipment still in boxes, never used, but you have money, so they come and they bring your bill, you just pay government, right? So we have to sit down and this is what we want, this is what we want, this is what we want, this we have used so. Right?
Yeah. And it's something I want to make very clear that for a $600 million program, this is not an option, right? When we came about 3 years ago, one of the things that I saw with a lot of the contractors that we worked with is testing was very foreign to them, you know? So when you talk about concrete control on soils, concrete and compaction and so on. So as Trevor was saying, you know, you put a little money, but the amount of value you get from that overall on a program is critical. So World Bank in recognizing that.
When the World Bank score mentioned lab, and Sean, it was in a lab. Yes, 1,000%. And that was the end of the conversation. I was in Trinidad, 1,000%. You agree? Yes, 1,000%. You cannot spend $75 million.
That's right.
On prime and score, and you don't know what you're getting for, what you're paying for. No.
That's right.
No. That's too much money. The lab is to ensure that you're getting $75 million worth. That is what the lab is about. The lab is to protect FSM interests. That is what the lab is about.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Trevor, for that presentation. Yes, just to add, Trevor is right. When it came up, we welcomed, the bank's agreement for us to include, as you say, Trevor, we have a $75 million roads program and then another 20-30 million with ADB. So this $1 million is certainly money that will be well spent. And just to mention also that, I mean, we're talking also, to get some skilled, technicians trained and so on in this materials testing. So it ties in also with, what we're generally talking about.
I just want to re-emphasize because when I'm making joke, I only want women working in the lab.
Yes,
yes. I'm saying that publicly. I don't want no man working in the lab.
All women. Where's the Assistant Secretary for Energy? You heard that? Okay, only women technicians.
There's a reason why I said that. Because when I came here, check into the hotel, the first time I came in during COVID time, the bar, and one of the women, I said, no. That is culture shock. Trinidad, you don't see women with nothing. But here, in the supermarket. So that is why I'm saying I don't want no men in the lab. Only I said that is completely for me. I don't want no men in the lab.
All right. Any questions? Any questions, Joe? Bruce?
Thank you, Trevor, for your presentation. Just two questions. First, what sort of timeline do we have to expect?
Direction, we meet, tell the World Bank we have our list and it depends on approval. Because I already told the World Bank, because this is things that have become bishop, there's no need for no consultant. I told them that in the meeting. So we can work on that right away, provided we get sorted out with Robert and the states how we. You cannot order the equipment. You have to define the space because when it comes, it has to go in a defined space. So the sooner FSM, the DTCI and the states can work out that logistics, we can make the list and send it to the World Bank for prior approval and purchase because they get that off the shelf. You see all the listing, all the numbers off the shelf. Okay, thank you.
So it's up to
My
Robert to
second
organize that.
question is,
Yeah.
and you don't have to answer this right now, but
Yeah.
how big of a space would we need?
I will work on that and give it to you. I will know concrete it, that sort of thing. You will get that. I'll work on that.
Okay.
Right. Thanks very much. But as soon as you put, and the wiring is, I think it's 220. So as soon as you can get the space, you can work on this and get the work done, you'll be ready to draw down on the $1 million. Yeah. Yeah.
One final hurdle that we've overcome now, which is to get the bank. We wanted the bank not just to finance the equipment, but also the building. That we're going to be building in Palakia for at least the national government's space. We finally got that, but it was a bit of a struggle, but we finally got it. And now, so we have all the clearances now to move ahead. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. We're gonna ask Pompey State Program Manager to come up. So this was one of the presentations that was supposed to get done yesterday, but we didn't have time. So I begged Fahad's indulgence just to be able to come and do it this year. So this is our status on the Compact 2 projects for Pompey State.
Right. Thank you for the invitation to this majestic island, blessed with its warm people and definitely savory dishes. My respects to the traditional leaders, including the Iso Nankin of Madalanin, aka my boss, the Vice President, Governor, the government of Kosrae, government officials from all states, including our own Senator Movik, fellow PMO program managers, and other distinguished guests. Right, you'll see the first image we have here is the famous Nan Madol. Infrastructure has always been important to the society. So we go ahead here now. The purpose of the presentation is to summarize the activities of the Program Management Office in Pohnpei. Right, we will present the program status, as an engineer, I have respect for the late Sir Isaac Newton. His first law of physics was an object at rest remains at rest. An object in motion remains in motion unless an external force acts upon it. The PMO is this external force. Right. Here we have a summary of our projects that are currently in execution phase. The secondary water line is primarily our own project in execution phase. It's approximately 80% constructed. It has been under construction for approximately 5 years thus far. However, we do expect estimated time of completion at the end of this year. To address local factors required for design, the PMO has embarked upon a probabilistic seismic hazard analysis. Right? This is being done by the US Army Corps. You can see here the deadline for it was the 10th of February. Long gone, eh? So it gives you an idea of some of the challenges we face with the US Army Corps. It covers roughly 12 miles. The next picture, you will see the groundbreaking. Right? That is the groundbreaking that was done back in May 2019. And the last picture you'll see is the foundation for the tank that should start within the next month. Right? It's a 1 million gallon. Our pre-construction projects. Now, our pre-construction projects are soon $25 million, but that represents the cost before the contingency. Usually, you put contingency on all projects. This is the cover unforeseens. Right? So you'll see the costs here are all before the contingency. So the first three projects, which we call phase one, we have been trying to put them out in tranches. It makes it easier to manage on many levels. And it makes it cheaper to advertise as well. Right? Because the cost of advertising in Hawaii is roughly $4,000 for 5 inches by 3 inches advertisement. So when we culminate projects in the advertisement, we save some money. Right? Okay. So these three projects, it may take sooner. Right? At the bottom, you'll see 3 of our next projects. That is our phase 2. Right? So all of these are taking place chronologically. That's how this table is arranged. So you'll see the Kinnicap waterline, the Pix High School project, and the Omini Elementary School. Those 3 projects are estimated at approximately $45 million. This is 2019 dollars, right? So that was the value of money back then would be different than the value of money now. So according to numbers we have from R&D, inflation in Pohnpei has been approximately 20% since 2017, 2018, somewhere around there, right? So the past couple of years, so around 20%, right? So that was the cost variation in CPI, right? So you'll see that in terms of status, we put at 75% contractor procurement. So that means the bids are already out for these projects, and we're expecting to receive bids for these projects worth approximately $45 million before contingency by the 13th of July. We would have liked to release these projects a little bit earlier, but because of the typhoon in Guam, we got requests to extend the deadline by about 3 weeks, so we extended it by a month, right? We're hoping to get our grant requests for these projects in before the 30th of September, at least with 2 weeks contingency. Right, so we're going to show you some images of the projects that are going to go into construction within the next month. I know they're not 3D drawings. 3D drawings always look fabulous, but these are the drawings we had in our designs, right? So this is your primary health care facility. For some reason, this project was not the primary project in our pipeline. So when I came into office 8 months ago, I rearranged the priorities to put this first, because this is what we needed. This is what the people need. Primary health care facility. After looking at the state of the existing primary healthcare facility, I saw it as being justified. Before I came, a library was the first project that they were about to secure, right? In the time of COVID. So it's a single-story build. Well, we'll soon find out and our challenges. When we go down a couple, you don't need to move it yet, right? So this is the second building that will be going into immediate construction. The Palakir School. A lovely building, I must say. It comprises of 3 segments. 2 single-story, and then the middle is actually joined by a roof, right? Because we've realized, the entire office before me had realized that rain is quite prevalent here, and children are not going to play in the rain, and it's not safe for them to play in the rain. So therefore, there's an area between the 2 segments of the classrooms available for extracurricular activities. And there's also a brand new gym, massive gym, that'll be going up 10,000 square feet. Right, in the pre-construction phase, we're going chronologically, of course, reverse order here. The procurement of our next 3 projects, 7, 8, and 9, is going to come up to about roughly $13 million. You know, because prices change a lot, we're just using the numbers that we got from consultants, and we cannot give the exact numbers the consultants give us for obvious reasons. We don't want to miss course, right? So that's why we have these ranges of course. We do know the estimates, right? So there's a lot of work being done on the Pix High School, right? As you can see here, some fairly large projects. Now these are currently in, how can I say this? It's in, the reviews are basically complete, and we are waiting till we get the capacity to implement these, right? So we're staggering the starts for our phases. So this is like our phase 3 here. We're going to stagger this. Between our phase 1 and phase 2, they're staggered by approximately 6 months, right? So basically, we're giving contractors a 6-month learning curve to catch up, bring up their standards, and be ready for the next phase. Then we have our design. So we're going further down into our chronology. We have approximately $25 million in projects. Now, this value is highly conceptual, it's $25 million, so this can easily change. Right, so these projects obviously are still in the design phase. Either they've been checked by US Army Corps, and there's usually a conversation between Army Corps and the architect engineers. So when that cycle of review is done between the Army Corps and the engineers, then we basically get the approval to go ahead and get procurement for contractors. Okay, so this is a representation of our expenditure from FY 2020. Good. So you can see by our expenditure by sector. Now, the PMO by itself did not choose the projects to do, right? They were given to us through IPIC. And these are the categories here. You can see it's roughly broken up into the most important segments: health, education, and water. Very well evenly broken up. Good. you will notice that roads and bridges are missing because that was the priority. The roads and bridges, unfortunately, came second to health and education. But that doesn't mean we don't intend to address it. It is next on our list. But, so you can see the US compact expenditure, including operational costs. The operational cost of the PMO is approximately $800,000. Right? If you look at that graph there from FY 2020 to FY 2022, it's mainly operational costs. But the other part of it is the project expenditure for the Security water line, which comes up to about $800,000 a year itself. So not very viable, is it? Huh? Operational cost 800, expenditure on capital projects 800, not very efficient at all. Project management roughly should be around 10%, just round figures, 10%. So you can see our projected expenditure for FY 23, 24, and 25. Now it's hard to go from 0 to 100, so therefore I'm trying to make it a gradual process. So there's not a shock to the system. And we are making changes to ensure the capacity is there to handle $25 million annually. It's not going to happen today, right? But we expect it to happen maybe next year. Right, so major challenges. Now, I'm not sure why this was really requested, but it is important. Maybe it might help the other PMOs with their issues, right? We have already found solutions. An engineer is not an engineer if you find problems and you cannot find solutions. We have, and in fact, a problem is not really a problem, it's a challenge. So these are all major challenges. Time, cost items are very closely related, right? Now, we have categorized the challenge here. You'll see at the end of it, you see T means time. Time is being affected. So what we're noticing is the consultants is happening. The consultants are exactly as what Shankara would say. Business people, they're looking to make extra money, right? So if they can stretch out a project legitimately, why not? So somebody has been taking, I'll give you an example here. USAID has been giving us lethargic responses, some of their deliverables, right? And we're going to use the probabilistic seismic hazard analysis report as an example. Being a structural person, I could read the report. And it was very easy for me to see that the basic factors required to do seismic calculations were not there. I question it, and I'm still waiting for the answers, right? And I doubted myself somewhat, so what I did is I gave the report to an American PE to review as well, and he also found it even more deficient than I did, right? And I have it in writing. I haven't given those responses to USAID yet because I want to hear what they're going to say regarding my comments first. Right? How can we design for earthquakes when we don't have the basic factors for doing the design? Right? How can we do seismic hazard analysis and not have a seismograph in your study? Not one seismograph was used in a study. And in their conclusion, they say that any additional data point will skew the result What does that mean? It means they don't have enough data, right? With our own AE, it's a little different. You know why? They don't require money up front. So what do I have? I have money in my back pocket for them. If they want their money, they gotta do the job. But I can't do that with US Army Corps, right? So that, you'll see the notice here in the mitigation measures, consistent follow-up. Basically kill them with kindness, right? Keep on irritating them, but be nice about it. Ask them for your deliverables. And in the case of US Army Corps, luckily I have my boss, right, ISO John Adolph, and Governor of Ponting to assist in getting results from US Army Corps. So that's the lines we have to go. And even so, they don't meet the deadlines most of the time, right? And I'm talking months at a time, not just a few days, months at a time. Right? Now with our AE, consistent follow-up is also required. Now, the saber rattling really means basically taking the money and waving it. Right? If you want the money, you gotta do the job. Now, part of the problem with the AE was actually on our part. The terms of reference that were used in gauging the AEs could have been better. Right? The AEs basically had a field day with a term of reference that was all of the schools that we're doing requires a gym. And when they require this new gym as part of the scope, imagine the AE is telling me I have to get a PE. So how am I going to design a gym? And this is after the scope of work, improvement on the terms of reference. Right? In the pipelines. Right, so these are challenges. You might wonder, why didn't the money? Our problem is not really the money. It's to spend the money. And we're trying to get the projects implemented in the shortest space of time. Right? So therefore, cost does escalate when you want those things. When you're trying to generous bonding, contractors and the use of sureties. A surety is basically one party guarantees the debts of another. That is what a surety is. Right? It reduces the cost of the bond and the difficulty of getting traditional bond, right, through an insurance company or through a bank. Right? Senior staff resist change. When I came into my office, we had some senior staff and they're accustomed to what they're doing for years and years and years, just like and what that brings is a sense of comfort. So you're comfortable with your organizational process assets. But they were not working. So what do we do? Well, we identify the non-conformance methods. We address the concerns of the new methods. And we attempt buy-in. If there's no buy-in, as a leader, you still have to make the change because it's not a democracy. Right? In-house capacity efficiencies, we're implementing performance reviews and advising upskilling where we see gaps in, where we see gaps in training and knowledge. In terms of technology, our project management office has been implementing a new project management software called RIKE. We're going to be implementing remote site monitoring using cameras, wireless cameras. And we've already been using e-procurement, right? Reliable concrete tests. Now, we just talked about testing. It affects quality. So right now we're looking at the feasibility of in-house testing lab. The concrete testing machine, believe it or not, is only $12,000. But the cost of a life is easily cannot be replaced. Right? Local contractors resist adopting OSHA. OSHA is something that contractors are not accustomed to, and we have to build them up incrementally of this. Right? It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. So we're bringing in people who know a little bit more about OSHA, and they will come in. Right, so the convoluted grant appropriation process. One of the main problems about getting grants is the people who are assessing the grants don't have all the information they were asking for. So the laws of FSM, the laws of the state, and the US Compact, and make sure all are being satisfied. Right? Okay. Right now, last but not least is PMO functionality, limited by space. Our office is a fairly small space. Believe it or not, it affects time, it affects quality. Right? So we are looking at feasibility of either rebuilding all I have for today. Hope you get a better insight as the operations of the PMO office.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Transition quickly into the final session. We have Secretary, if you do the session on climate change. Yeah. All right.
While they're setting up, let me do my respect to the Vice President, Speaker, Vice Speaker, ISO, and everyone else here. I will make sure that it's a very short, quick presentation, since we only have 30 minutes left. So, good afternoon to all of you. My presentation is on climate resilient infrastructure, and that's what I'll be talking about this afternoon for the next few minutes at least. Since the beginning of this conference, you've been hearing from the engineers especially on climate resilient infrastructure. So I'm going to just explain a little bit, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to just throw at you a few questions for you to think about when you think of climate resilient infrastructure. And hopefully, as you think about it, you'll come to terms with what it is that we mean by climate resilient infrastructure. Next one. I'm not trying to teach you what global warming is, and so that is not the purpose of this slide here. But I just wanted to give you an idea, because when we talk about this climate resilient infrastructure, we're going to be talking about climate change anyway. So really, this is just a slide that I wanted to put in front of you. This is what causes global warming. Solar radiation, hits the surface of the earth, bounces back, but then with human activities emitting CO2 into the atmosphere, it creates that greenhouse, and then some of the heat is trapped, and that's why the warming is, the slide, please. So these are just some of the things that are happening, especially here in the islands. It's getting warmer. We're getting more frequent storms, or at least that's what scientists are saying. And we're also observing that it seems to be happening that way. Changing rainfall patterns or precipitation, more severe droughts is to be expected ahead of us. and so on. And so these are things, the impacts of climate change that are going to have to be taken into consideration when we plan, when we design infrastructures. We have to take all of these things into consideration. And I don't really like the word climate resilient because it's not just climate. When we say climate resilient, we're narrowing it down to just those that are climate induced. But actually there are more than just climate. There are other hazards that are caused not by climate. For instance, like those that are caused by earthquakes. So those are not climate related anyways, but those need to be found encompasses all, because this is not just climate, but it's more than just climate. It includes other things. Next slide, please. So what do we mean by climate resilient infrastructure? One that is planned, designed, built, and operated in a way that anticipates, prepares for, and adapts to changing climate conditions. Then it can also withstand, respond to, and recover rapidly from the disruptions caused by these climate conditions. Now, these are general ways of saying that when we do our planning, design, and all of that is involved when we do infrastructure planning. Take into consideration, for instance, coastal roads. Do we just go ahead and build roads where they currently are? Or do we need more information to be able to decide, make a decision as to what kind of coastal road we're going to build there, or if we need to relocate it? Because if you build on the same roads that are existing 10, 20, 30 years from now, that coastal area may be inundated already, underwater. So you're looking at something that you did not anticipate. So you went ahead and built anyway. So that's why it's important for us to plan and then also anticipate what's going to happen in the future. Because, you've heard all these people talking about these infrastructures. These are investments. You're going to invest millions and millions of dollars into them. So make sure that we build infrastructures that you invest in and you can use for the rest of their life. So next slide, please. Why does climate resilient infrastructure matter to us? I mentioned it already, at least one. It protects our investments. Again, going back to spending millions of dollars on these infrastructures. You want to avoid putting your investment in a place where half of its life, you cannot use it anymore because it's already underwater. For instance, our airports, at least 3 out of our 4 airports, are on the coast. And so when you plan on what to do with the 3 airports here, Pohnpei and Chuuk, do you want to build over it again? And how do you do it? So if 20, 30 years from now, sea level rise is going to be up to, where the seawater comes over the airport, then if the decision is to go ahead and build right where it is, then you may have to elevate it a little bit by several feet, useful. Because if not, because 10, 15 years, 20 years, then that airport is under the water. Take, for instance, a classroom, or let's say a hospital. You want to put a hospital somewhere. Where can you put a hospital? Is it on a hill? And what do you have there? You may have other hills close by that are prone to landslides and other things that can happen. So these things you have to take into consideration too. You heard people talking about seismic activities. And I was going to ask, because I heard from Chairwoman Mofik and also the gentleman who has disappeared. Does Panate even take seismic into your planning when you design your infrastructure? Because I remember when I was Secretary of DCNI, the IPIC, National IPIC, came up with some design criteria. And I know that the seismic ratings for Pohnpei and perhaps Chuk were a little bit different, or maybe Pohnpei and Kosrae were different than Yap and perhaps Chuk, because of the fact that there's more seismic activity happening around Yap and perhaps Chuk than Pohnpei and Kosrae. But anyway, I'm not an engineer, so I'm just asking that, because if you do that, it just means added cost for what is for. I mean, is it useful? I don't know. That's a decision that you have to make. So that's what we mean by protecting your investment. The other one is complying with our national policies, regulations. For instance, we have our NDC. Our climate change and disaster risk management policy, where we say that all sectors have to mainstream climate into your mainstreaming, or making sure that the infrastructures that we're planning, that climate is factored into it to make sure that they are climate resilient. Helping our international obligations, we submitted our NDC, or nationally determined contributions pledge last year in Egypt, where we say these are the things that we're going to do. And so that's another way of us meeting our obligations. And of course, everybody's doing it. Everybody now realizes that even the climate critics, those who don't believe in climate change, are beginning to come around, slowly. They're beginning to realize that climate change is, in fact, happening. And so we need to do it. We don't want to be left behind, as the Vice President said about us, no island left behind. So that's what we need to do also, to make sure that we're with the pack moving forward. Next slide, please. What does it mean? It means added costs. Roads, which will mean doubling of the cost, or if you're doing buildings, you're going to have to make sure that they withstand, certain typhoon force winds, and that you will have to get that information through projections into the future. What is storm wind going to be like in our region? We'll need to have to be able to plan, design, and then construct all these infrastructures based on those things that we know are forecasted to be happening in the future. So these are just some examples. I'm saying, the second point that I'm trying to say there is, we may need additional capacity at the PMU, PMOs, but I don't know. Right now we're talking about compact infrastructure sector grant. But earlier, from the beginning up to today, we're also talking about other sources of funding. And if we want to climate proof, or want to make our infrastructures climate resilient, we know that money coming from the compact is going to be a certain amount. But we have many other sources of funding, Green Climate Fund and others. So we may need some staff at the PMU, PMOs, or wherever, where you can actually get some of this funding to do, let's say, building a road, and then you request GCF funding or other funding sources to fund that incremental cost, because that's what they can be used for. You use that funding to finance the incremental cost added on top of your development of infrastructure to make sure that it is climate resilient. So you can actually, justify this is going to be an incremental cost on top of your own development infrastructure. And this is to make sure that, next slide please. Where do we begin and how do we do it? And how do we do it right? I have an idea. It's quite expensive and Robert Goodwin knows. But it's not for this setting. But let me just say what it is. We need real data, real accurate information. We cannot rely on anecdotal information to make our plans, to plan and then to design based on those anecdotal information. We need empirical data, information to be able to plan things right. So meaning that if we're going to be investing our compact sector money, grants, into infrastructures for the nation, we want to make sure that all the investments that we make are actually based on accurate data that is available to all the planners, all the engineers, and all the people who are involved in designing and constructing all of our. We look around and we see coastal erosions. Every now and then we have, tidal surges happening around the country. We see floodings. That's just things that we see. But you need some real accurate information that projects into the future, because our investments that we make today are going to be investments that we hope will be around until the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And so we don't want to design infrastructures based on inaccurate information that, half of its life, and either the road is already underwater or something else is happening because the information that you used was not accurate and therefore was misleading in informing the planning and the design of that particular project or the infrastructure. So I saw that first slide that the gentleman just up before me showed. I think that was probably based on LiDAR, right, or not? But if you have good elevation modeling that can give you all this kind of information, then you can really tell what's going to happen 20, 30, 40 years from now. I bet all of you think that maybe 30, 40 years from now, you have around the coast or something else. I don't know, I'm not an engineer. But these are the informations that we need in order for us to do our planning, our designing, and all that work done right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary, for finishing us off very strong today. I think, that was some really powerful messages you left everyone with about being data-driven, what it means to be climate resilient, and that there are many ways in which people can be climate resilient. So we really want to thank you for that. We just want to open the floor, as I say, we're going to make some announcements in terms of how we're going to adapt tomorrow, but just questions before.
Thank you very much, Shankara. No, I just wanted to make a couple of comments. We didn't get a chance also to, we were a little bit rushed, Fahad, sorry, but I just wanted to make 2 or 3 comments on both presentation. One is on Fahad's, Fahad and Iso. It does seem to me then that you certainly are ready with a portfolio of projects that could be presented for Compact 3 that are just about ready, and subject, of course, to the state agreeing, that those would be your priorities, because I know that your IPIC will look again and see whether do you want to go ahead with those schools and the substance abuse and so on, or do you want to shift your priorities. But anyway, it is good at least to know that you have some projects that could very well spill over into Compact 3. So that's what I just wanted to commend on your presentation. Thank you very much, Secretary Andrew. I just wanted to sort of on the information available, produced on the DECM website, and I was very impressed with the amount of, as you say, we have to follow, policies and so on, and the extensive amount of work that has been done by the FSM in producing climate change adaptation policies and strategies and so on and so forth. And I would just want to encourage our engineers and designers to go to your website, DECM, because there is a wealth of information, a wealth of studies and so on, strategies and plans that have already been done and which can guide us in our, and as you say, Secretary Andrew, mainstreaming these policies and strategies into our planning and our design processes. So I just want to encourage everyone that there is already a wealth of information that has already been produced by DECM, and I want to compliment you on that. Certainly, just to mention about the UNDP proposal that we were not, as he says, myself and Cecilia, also with DECM, have been looking at this LIDAR surveys. It is a bit expensive. How much is it, 15 million? Anyway, it will certainly give us a much better information base, as you say, Secretary, to monitor, especially the changes in coastal, the whole coastal erosion and what it's doing and which areas are going up and down and so on in terms of the information base for us to do our infrastructure planning. We will need to look at it. I have suggested to UNDP, as you know, that they send us Shankara and Ken the presentation, and we will just distribute it. All right. There wasn't enough time for them to make it, but it's something that, the proposal that they have made is something that interests all of us, and I'm sure will certainly interest those who are involved in infrastructure planning, but we just need to maybe find, a way to fund it, all right, to get it started. We've been talking, Cecilia, you would know, maybe piloting it and so on. So certainly, Secretary, we'll be looking further into that as we move forward. So I just wanted to make those two comments, and I know Shankar, you keep looking at your watch.
I think Jared had one, yes.
Secretary Edelman, first of all, I want to thank you for an excellent presentation. It's very heartening to hear that level of detail and technical knowledge and so on, and fact and truth. Now, it was about climate resiliency, but you actually touched on the end there of something called low impact development. That's the beginnings of low impact development. Because climate resiliency is actually, we are building with a sort of fatalistic view that sea level is going to rise. And so we're preparing for that. But low impact development is very data driven, as you mentioned. And to hear Robert say that, hey, you guys already have that level of data and so on available, that's awesome. That's just, that's just great. And with the sort of data that you have on that, low impact development basically to limit. If it's saying, well, hey, it's going to be, hey, let's see if we can take it down to 0.5 or not, right? And eventually get it to move more in our favor, right? So again, I want to thank you for that, and I look forward to working with you guys in DECM in terms of accessing that sort of data, so we can. I only started looking at this, as Robert would know, while I was studying for my PE licensing. Right, I said, this is something that's so applicable to the FSM, right? And to have that type of data available makes it more tangible now in terms of how we could approach any infrastructure that we put down out there. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jared. A lot of the conference is about directing the conversations more towards walking the walk rather than just talking. It's easy to talk in infrastructure. It's really easy, but it's difficult to walk the walk. And this is day 3 of the conference. Robert and I was joking and I was saying, it's the first conference. It's been fantastic, but we already have ideas of how to improve it come next year. Where we could do. There's been so much good feedback and good support that instead of packing it into this much days,
what if we finish a little earlier each day, so you get, you know what I mean, and then just spread it out a little longer to make sure everyone gets a clear chance, because I didn't feel as if any of the presenters, like if we gave them more time, they would have gone on more. There's a lot of work going on in FSM, and there is a need for coordinating it. And, you know, I really want to thank, you know, Secretary Apis for, you know, giving us that leadership to move towards that core. We're going to be having those discussions tomorrow morning instead. We had some extra floating time that was already catered for on Friday. Friday was kind of our spillover day. So we're going to be able to shift that going tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to have the panel discussion. So the first thing we're going to do is panel discussion, which is going to be health, education, and outer island development. All right, and then straight into that, we're going to transition into Compact 3 and dealing with the capacity constraints in the PMOs, which we're going to be showing some very interesting images about what a typical PMO should look like, you know, with the kind of demands that will be coming in Compact 3. So we expect it to generate a lot of conversation before we present the resolutions that came from each of the...
I just wanted to recognize and congratulate DTCI and the folks for including this climate resilience into this conference. Because Congress some time back had passed a resolution endorsing the climate policy formulation, which calls on all sectors to mainstream climate change into our climate. But we have been kind of slow in doing that, so I haven't responded right away. And then now, I'm glad that the infrastructure is now talking about mainstream climate into the next work. And I hope that other sectors will also start mainstream climate.
Yeah, thank you, Secretary. So I think that would be the end of day 3. I think there, as earlier mentioned, there is dinner served at Tree Lodge this evening. All are welcome. I believe Sakawan started already, so I will be heading there this evening. And you know, but dinner itself will be starting at 6:30. So all are welcome to Tree Lodge, and we start bright and early, sharp 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Thank you, everybody.